initiatives to reduce reliance on the US dollar in international trade, and finance, generally known as de-dollarization, has usually been propelled by the BRICS countries. These nations share the goal of obtaining increased financial autonomy and restricting their vulnerable. Entrenched in a US-centered global financial ranking for the previous 10 years. They have pursued a variety of alternatives to the dollar. Although BRICS members have long dollarization initiatives, the tendency has now developed a foothold throughout Europe through France. Emerging as a crucial participant beyond France's growing use, the United Nations and its larger initiatives to diversify away from the dollar there. There have been hints of interest in aligning more closely with alternative economic blocs include BRICS. In mid-2023, French President Emmanuel Macron declared his wish to attend the BRICS summit, held in Johannesburg, signals France's openness. Connecting with a group historically regarded as a counterweight to Western-led economic institutions. Although France has not formally applied, Macron's outreach for BRICS membership indicates a willingness to explore new diplomatic and economic channels that could supplement the countries. In this video, we discuss dollarization initiatives. Explore the expanding spectrum of dollarization as a current development, including historically allied nations. With the United States, these changes arrive at a point distinguished by politics. France's recent fall has created chaos. The government might possibly complicate trade ties between France, China and the US. The roots of EU-China trade relations go back to 1975, when the European Economic Community, or EEC, formally established diplomatic relations with China. This action laid the foundations for structured economic cooperation, sets the stage for more thorough collaboration in following decades. The connection gained momentum with the 1985 trade an agreement for economic cooperation that established a structured framework to widen trade and investment, are paving the road. Persistent bidirectional expansion. A dramatic change happened in 2001. China acceded to the World Trade Organization, or WTO. Joining the WTO reduced restrictions, enhanced market access and substantially greater trade flow between China and the EU. Also required China to align with global trade norms, strengthening European business confidence, deepening economic interconnectedness. 2003 The establishment of the Complete Strategic Collaboration continues. Enhanced the mutual bond, extending beyond trade into political and the cultural and technical domains. Partnership symbolized shared resolution to address global concerns together. While improving economic relationships over time, it has included conversations about climate change. Innovation and sustainable development reflects the evolving complexity of the EU-China connection. China has become essential to the European Union as a trade partner for bilateral goods. A deal worth roughly €7,395 billion in 2023 is comparable to an excellent 2.03. Every day, billions of euros are traded. A large flow emphasizes the deep economic interlinkage is characterized by active trading in machinery, vehicles, pharmaceuticals and consumer things, yet a large trade deficit persists. The EU's deficit with China reached €291 billion. 2023 exposes the EU's reliance on Chinese imports in essential industries, such as electronics and industrial machinery. It struggles to acquire similar access to Chinese markets, as a closer examination shows that machinery and transport equipment dominates exchange. In 2023, the EU exported roughly these goods are valued €114 billion. China, but imported over €296 billion. In the same category, electronics, especially telecommunications equipment, stood. The EU imports €56.3 billion value from China. Industrial machinery also represents a significant share of imports, reflecting the EU's relying on China for vital manufacturing inputs. Meanwhile, chemical goods, include pharmaceuticals, form a significant portion of EU exports, signaling diversified trade beyond traditional goods. Notwithstanding these strong numbers, European firms regularly confront regulatory barriers and investment restrictions in China are impeding their capacity to compete on equal ground. These impediments undermine the EU's attempts to counterbalance trade flows and escalate Concern about unequal market conditions. The EU has responded with precautionary measures. Measures to ensure fair competition safeguard its industries. By 2024, for example, it implemented anti-dumping duties on Chinese titanium dioxide imports, ranged from 0.25 to 0.74 per kilogram to protect EU producers from distorted pricing. Analogous initiatives have been implemented in other places, reveal continued tensions. Uncertainties regarding guaranteeing a level playing field. While this economic interdependence has provided substantial results benefits, it also increases sustainability and fairness problems with the EU's import reliance and confined market permeation in China highlights the necessity for policy revisions. Continual dialogue. Negotiations continue to be vital, with both parties are attempting to retain collaboration that fosters equity growth. Developments, such as stopped ratification of the Comprehensive Agreement on Investment and the application of trade defense tools, highlight the complexities of shaping this multidimensional relationship is moving forward. Aligning trade policies. Systemic difficulties will be resolved. Vital for long-term preservation, stability and prosperity in the EU and China ties. In recent years, tensions in the EU-China trading has intensified. In 2023, the EU launched an anti-subsidy and study into Chinese electricity vehicle imports, claiming that state support provided Chinese firms with an unfair edge. This action reflects the EU's broader desire to safeguard their industry. Market imbalances are caused by China's state-led economic model has also aimed to create an equal playing field. European manufacturers, which face mounting competition from an increase in inexpensive Chinese electric vehicles in China, retaliated in 2024 with its own anti-dumping inquiries. Target European exports include pork and dairy products. These are viewed as retaliatory tactics. Investigations intensified commerce frictions and worried European producers concerned about maintaining access to Chinese markets. The stalemate deepened. Notably, in November 2024, China took the unusual step of submitting a formal complaint with World Trade Organizational conflict resolution body. China's complaint questioned the EU's imposition of countervailing measures on several Chinese exports, most notably on electric cars, but perhaps expanding to other high-tech goods. So Beijing contended that the EU's anti-subsidy measures lacked a firm the evidentiary basis, breached the concepts outlined in the WTO's agreement on subsidies and countervailing measures, and discriminated against Chinese producers, therefore contradicting international trade norms. This legal action did not arise in a vacuum, it followed a year-long. The cycle of rising tensions begins when the European Union announced its 2023 anti-subsidy probe into Chinese electric car imports under increased competitive pressure from inexpensive Chinese electric automobiles. European policymakers stated that state assistance from Beijing permitted Chinese automakers will undercut European manufacturers, distort the market. Although the EU argued that the actions were compatible with WTO standards, citing the need to level the playing field and preserve domestic industries, China saw the action as unreasonable. Protectionism prompts a direct challenge in the Global Trade Court. WTO complaint was substantial escalation for a number of causes. UINA trade conflicts were formerly focuses on items like solar steel panels and several agricultural products goods. The friction had spilt over in vitally important sectors like as clean energy vehicles, highlight the intersection of trade policy with geopolitical and technical. In the second competition, both teams were increasing the use of legal. The EU has retaliatory instruments, placed extra taxes on the Chinese imports of chemical machinery components and intermediate goods. Earlier years, China had replied with its own studies into European agricultural and food exports. According to WTO documents, UINA argues while numerous had not often increased so brazenly into simultaneous investigation in high-profile cases involving flagship industries like electric vehicles. Before 2024 in the EU, China had engaged in around a dozen formal disputes brought before the WTO. The consequences range from negotiated settlements to full panel judgments. Earlier disagreements, although mainly centered on traditional industrial products or raw materials, are not emerging. High-value sectors are critical to the future of global innovation and the environment policy. Let's take a little stop. You have enjoyed the video thus far. I'd like to ask a tiny favor by pressing the like button allows us to reach a wider audience. And sharing your ideas or criticism in the remarks have an even larger influence. Thank you for watching. Now let's plunge back in with a striking twist. Western nations, including EU members, has begun exploring techniques to reduce their reliance on the US dollar. France and Germany, particularly, has embraced significant steps down this route. France has made progress in embracing unbased transactions, demonstrating an increasing desire to diversify outside the US dollar. In March 2023, Total Energy China's first LNG contract was signed and finalized. On reports 65,000 tons from the UAE. This pioneering move was hailed as an important milestone towards expanding Wane's involvement in global energy trade following agreements, such as one between NG and CN. Highlighted France's interest in unbased commerce, particularly in China's vital industries, including energy. These accords strengthen efforts to internationalize the yuan for France, provide an opportunity to mitigate currency risk and decrease susceptibility to fluctuations. Driven by its monetary policy at all times strengthening relationships with a major global, the EU has said that the market is growing concern about the US dollar's supremacy, especially about the usage of sanctions that impact European enterprises worldwide. These measurements emphasize the weaknesses inherent in a dollar-centered system, forces EU leaders to seek alternatives that strengthen the euro's global status. By 2023, euro's portion of the global foreign exchange reserves have dropped to 20%, spotlighting the currency's struggle to sustain. EU policymakers now play a major role working to increase the euro's influence, emphasizes its usage in strategic fields like energy, promoting greater energy transactions in euros align with the EU's aim of energy autonomy and stability, as well as the opportunity the concept of a digital euro has gaining traction, a way to modernize EU financial infrastructure and provide a sustainable alternative for international payments, improving internal financial integration. Harmonizing fiscal policy and banking regulations and capital markets continue vital for establishing global confidence in the euro. By tackling these the problems that the EU wants to present euro as a reliable alternative in a more diverse financial landscape. Numerous variables accelerate the shift away from the US dollar. Economic pragmatism is crucial bilaterally. Trade with local currencies might decrease exposure to US monetary policy fluctuations and yield are more favorable terms. In 202-23, China and Brazil agreed to do commerce in their respective currencies are bypassing the dollar to achieve greater financial resiliency. This movement is also influenced by geopolitics. Nations want to reduce their usage of the dollar, reduce reliance on its regulated financial networks are commonly used for the sanctions exemplified by the BRIC nations. This trend aims to improve their economic sovereignty and shield themselves from external limitations. Furthermore, the financial environment is transitioning from a dollar-cent model to a more multipolar structure, while the dollar still accounts for 58% of worldwide foreign currency. Exchange reserve alternatives are emerging via regional packs, the US rising significance and the central bank digital currencies. The arrival of Western countries into dollarization. The movement expands its reach and potential impact of what began as a BRIC-driven process is now a worldwide undertaking with the ability to reshape established financial conventions. Although the dollar maintains its dominance, the increasing usage of numerous currencies symbolizes global developments. Power balances France's deeper engagement. Unbased commerce strengthens the economy. Total linkages with China. In March 2023, Energies accomplished a milestone LNG purchase in and following high-profile visits facilitated more agreements with firms such as CMA-CGM. By 2023, 3 bilateral trade agreements France and China have reached $55,511 billion or 78.2 billion France, continues to be an important supplier of China produces agricultural goods. Provides a broad range of consumer items. Reflecting mutual economic dependence, China is currently the EU's greatest trading partner in goods, has actively promoting the UN internationalization through various mechanisms, which include the creation of more than 40 currencies. Swap lines, the extension of the cross-border the interbank payment system processed more than 80 trillion roughly 11 trillion in transactions by 2022. Progressive liberalization of China's European financial markets are big. Financial centers such as Paris, Frankfurt, Luxembourg grew without clearing centers, although regulatory frameworks such renminbi qualified foreign the institutional investor program has encouraged European portfolio investments in Chinese assets by 2024. Greater than 70% billion euros in undenominated dim sum bonds were issued partially offshore. European investors are expanding comfort with the Chinese currency as the dollarization process continues to develop. Its possible implications for the global financial order is profound. Growing acceptability of the yuan and other non-USD currencies might progressively reduce the so-called excessive the privilege of the United States in global finance. Practically speaking, a more multipolar currency landscape may sense energy contracts, infrastructure investments, commodities deals are rising denominated in euros or regional currency movements might disperse financial risk, change the balance of power in monetary foreign policymaking and reshape exchange reserve components, which presently stands at around 58% in USD, 20% in euros and around 3% in USD. The dollar's role as the principal reserve currency remains an incremental embrace. Alternative payment methods, especially in high-value areas, such energy technology and advanced machinery, suggests a less tethered world in 2023. A single currency will be dominant. More than 15% of China's international commerce was already established in the UN, and this share is likely to increase as partnerships with countries such as France have deepened their long-term, if major European economic conditions continue to be favorable. Terms and decreased risk through unbased transactions with other developed nations may follow suit. This evolution will be formed by the dynamic interaction of economic pragmatism and regulation, innovative political will, and the strategic requirement to hedge against geopolitical. That's all for this video. Thank you for watching the video. I genuinely appreciate you joining us today. If our material connected with you, please think about what inspired you. Show your support by like it and subscribe to stay connected with us. Community.